So in this segment, Rees-Mogg says the government should no longer deliver certain functions as Brexit prize, and it annoys me. I don't know if the person who wrote this article didn't mention what Mogg specifically said, or if Mogg, as always, didn't give specifics. But we already know they're rolling around certain rights around, clean water, for example. So that's not great. I mean, what else does he want to roll back? It's pretty scary. So Mogg has urged the next Prime Minister to slash back the government's role as a prize of Brexit, suggesting it should not deliver certain functions at all. And what functions is he talking about? The NHS? Schools? Like, what is this guy? Proper Victorian era stuff, isn't he? A rethinking of the British state, arguing mere cuts in public spending won't go far enough. And if this is one of the guys that's advising Liz Truss, I'd be very worried. This could end up being way worse than Boris Johnson. Way, way worse. The Leave campaign won the 2016 campaign partly on a promise to boost spending, notably by £350 million a week on the NHS. But Mogg is pointing to a different direction, saying our departure from the EU necessitates a rethinking of the British state. And what do you think he means? It must be deregulation. But also he's talking about a rolling back of the state when it comes to functions, as in what the state actually provides. What does he want to roll back? It's pretty ominous. This means going beyond ministers looking for fiscal trims and haircuts and considering whether the state should deliver certain functions at all. It sounds like a libertarian fantasy. It comes after Truss vowed to press the accelerator on ripping up thousands of EU regulations if she wins power. But the thing is, these are British regulations. These have been put into British law. These are then EU regulations, legacy EU laws you can call them, but these are British laws, which has raised fears that protections will disappear. Mogg argued tearing back the state's role would allow the next government to help people with rocketing energy bills. How does rolling back the state help people deal with their energy bills? One of the reasons why we have such high energy bills in this country is because the energy generators, the ones who supply the energy, not like it's like Centrica and those sorts of companies. I couldn't name them specifically, but you kind of get what I'm talking about. They're the ones causing the problems. They're the ones making 5x profit. How is the government, through deregulation and rolling back the state, going to help people through the cost of living crisis? It makes no sense. The leadership race favourite has said she'll be doing through tax cuts. Tax cuts aren't going to help the people who need it the most. That's the key problem. You've got, I think this is Mogg saying, I'm a strong advocate of the benefit of tax cuts to the economy. He's writing in the Telegraph, it's not going to help. It might help his friends out. A tax cut might help his friends out, but it's not going to help the general population, especially given the fact that even if you give people a few £100s off at best through a tax cut, they're going to be price gouged massively with energy bills doubling and also everything else going up in price. All the retail goods are going to go up in price because these shops, their energy bills are going to go up dramatically. Warehouses, they're going to go up dramatically. So what that means is the cost of the goods will go up as well. Mogg says it was absolutely right about the need to rethink the British state after Brexit. Frost. So you got the two biggest clowns kind of in Westminster. You've got Jacob Rees-Mogg and then you've got Lord Frost. You got Layla Moran, the Lib Dems Foreign Affairs spokeswoman, saying rather than try to dismantle the British state, maybe Rees-Mogg should try and tear down the huge amounts of red tape which have been erected thanks to the Conservatives' trade deal with Europe. Essentially, he's talking about Brexit there, which is a fair point. The Best for Britain, Better Democracy campaign group seized on Mogg claiming $4 billion had been found from his efficient drive, arguing it was too little to avoid dramatic cuts. And a lot of that is just getting rid of civil servants, sacking civil servants off. It's going to make the government less efficient because you're going to have less people there to do roles. You're going to have more people leaving because they're going to be asked to do more work. It's just ridiculous. The Best for British campaign saying it will likely lead to the civil service to stop delivering functions including essential public services that Tory governments continue to run into the ground, said Naomi Smith, its chief executive. What you're going to have is, rather than just cutting services, which is the Tory special, they're just going to get rid of them altogether. It's just going to make it so much worse. The call comes after the respected Institute for Fiscal Studies, the IFS, warned that spending cuts are inevitable if Truss pursues the £30 billion plus of tax cuts she plans, calling them unrealistic. I mean, what more can you say about these people? What they're doing this is fantasy land. That's where they're in. Boris Johnson was bad. He was really bad, but Liz Truss might be a lot worse. Angela Rayner, Labour's deputy leader, said there's nothing efficient about cutting frontline services already overwhelmed by backlogs when families are struggling to make ends meet. Now Liz Truss is pledging yet more tax cuts, which will only worsen the backlogs we already have in courts, airports, GPs, leaving people waiting even longer for passports, driving licences and vital appointments. Because where are these civil servants going to be, kicked out from? That's the key problem. We already have massive problems when it comes to passports being issued. The DVLA is, I think, a complete mess at the moment. Across the board, none of Britain's, services are actually running properly. And at the end of the day, you've got to look at who's been in charge for the last 12 years. But, Truss and Mogg are only going to make things worse. Only a moron would listen to Rees-Mogg. Anyways, look, I'm going to leave it there. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I kind of wish they talked more about the specifics about what Mogg was talking about. Or at least someone asked him, what specifically do you want the state to cut back on? But, maybe we'll see that in a future article. Anyways, let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Support the channel on Patreon if you can. And hopefully I'll see you in the next one.